What's up, everybody? Welcome back to CorrelatioNation. I figured I'd hop back on here and we do a little recap of the night, what worked, what didn't work, and we'll just check it out. You always, you gotta learn from your mistakes. So, anyways, I had decent luck on the slate. I think I finished in the top 200, and some of the stuff I used worked, some of the stuff I used didn't. And it's funny because, I'm trying to tell anyone that's willing to listen, that, I'm not bullcrapping anyone. I'm trying to give you this information because, I spoke earlier on my favorite stacks, in Minnesota, being one of my favorite stacks, if not my favorite stack. And it's something, I'm not sure. I know when the slate was almost over, I was looking, and the person that was in first had a Minnesota stack. I had plenty of Minnesota stacks, however, I didn't have the right combination of players. And it just goes to show that you have to have variations of stacks. And, when you're using multiple pitchers, you have to have multiple variations. And that's why me giving the information to you guys, because, some of you laugh, some of you think, like, what the hell would I listen to you for? But in all honesty, I put hours and hours of work into my slates every day. And so if you would just listen to my little 30-minute videos, whatever, however long they are, you could take this information and use it to your benefit. So with that being said, I'll move forward. Like I said, we're going to go over what did work, what didn't work, and I'll show you. I can go to my DFS, and I mainly play on DraftKings. But give me just 1 second. I'm going to pull it up and we'll check it out. So I finished 159th on the 2K quarter jukebox. I put up 177 points, which is pretty good. I mean, it's not 200 points. It didn't, I think the top guy put up, 240 or so. But anyways, I spoke on Porcello. Porcello was a good pick today. And the other guy being Robbie Ray, another good pick. I spoke on both of these guys earlier. I put Salvador Perez as my catcher. And here, I'll let you see. I don't know if you guys will be able to see this. Oh, no, you can't see that at all. But anyways, I may just, I'll probably post a photo to my Twitter account later. You guys can check that out too. It's DFS_CorrelatioNation at Twitter. So check that out. Feel free. Subscribe, follow, whatever. And, I put things on there from time to time. But anyway, Salvador Perez at catcher. And I put Cron at first base for the LA Angels. And it's funny because I actually had an LA stack the other day, and I used Pujols, and he bombed it. You know what I mean? Just crapped all over my team. And so I rolled with Cron tonight, and he, you know what I mean? Had I had him, I would have put up over 200 points. And so that was a mistake on my behalf. But anyways, Whit Merrifield at second base, Val Bueno at third, Javier Baez, Calhoun, Rivera, and Mike Trout. That was my lineup, and I got 36 out of Trout, 3 out of Rivera, 9 out of Calhoun, 28 out of Baez. Val Bueno only got me 8. Whit Merrifield got me 26. Cron only got me 5. Perez got me 3. And then Ray got me 32. And Porcello got me 26. And that scored me 177. So again, that was a pretty decent lineup, but it could have been so much better if I just had, that many more lineups to, create different variations of stacks. And I'm gonna actually go up to first place and see if it ended up being the same guy. Yeah, I believe it is. And this guy had Porcello and Quintana, and I spoke on Quintana. I didn't use him personally. He only put up 25 points, so I mean, really, Robbie Ray was still the better play. But he had Garver at catcher, Pujols at first base, Dozier at second base. He had Escobar at third, Adrianza at strong safety, or sorry, I'm ready for the football season here. Shortstop, Calhoun, Rosario, and Trout. And I had Rosario in a lot of lineups, but for whatever reason, I did not have him in my Minnesota stacks, and that was a huge mistake of mine. You know, I get to go in, you know, and I said it earlier, I get to go in and make multiple stacks with other teams, and he was just a guy that kind of stood out as far as, you know, I'm just going to fill this blank with a Minnesota player, and he was just a guy that I ended up using a lot. And then, you know, those stacks didn't do so well, the teams didn't do so well, and then he did really well, and then I didn't use him in the Minnesota stack, and he kind of went off. So, and I didn't have Garver in those stacks either. So, again, you got to use this information to make different variations, and that's going to help. I'm trying to help you. I feel good about it. You feel good about it. We move on. And so, anyways, pretty decent night. Not great. Could have been so much better. And then really what I want to do, and I'm going to tell you all this. I mean, if you guys play on DraftKings and you don't have the DK Live app, go out, get the DK Live app. It's tremendous. You can follow the results of what players do. I found it very beneficial for myself, especially when I'm trying to recap the work I've done. You know, I want to learn from my mistakes. I want to see, like I said, I want to see what I was thinking, what I had wrote down, what worked, what didn't work. Can I learn from it and, you know, apply that to tomorrow's slate and, you know, moving forward. But let's see, what we got is for the top pitchers on the day. And I really only studied the main slate for yesterday. I didn't do all day. Tomorrow I'll be doing all day just because it's such a small sample. I think it's 10 games, 6 games on the main slate. And Steven Strasburg pitched the best night. He had 41.05. And in second was Jose Berrios. Again, I spoke on him, and I don't know why I didn't really use him. But, you know, I could show you on my my work that I have here. Jose Berrios, out of the guys, was actually on my list, was the very top guy. And you cannot really see it, but he's right here. Jose Berrios. And the yellow means that it correlated. I use pink, and that's like kind of a picture that, you know, I don't really want to use. Whatever, you know what I mean? And you can see that here. I actually get that from this side because I have the players' monthly stats. This is pitchers, so I have the pitchers' monthly stats on this side, and I use that on the flip side. And I come up with these lists of pitchers, and the offenses are over here. I come up with these by strictly just by doing splits. That's what it is. It's you know, offenses on the road against left, right, whatever. Pitchers against teams that strike out a lot. Whether that's, you know, I try to use it both. You know, I personally feel like left and right is more important than home away because all ballparks are different. You've got, you know, some ballparks that are very big and spacious, and you know, they're just hard to hit home runs in. It's not saying that nobody can hit a home run, and it's harder. You know, there's gonna be fewer home runs hit in those ballparks, and then you have small ballparks, and there's gonna be a lot of home runs hit there. And so sometimes these teams, like Colorado, for an example, high altitude, smaller ballpark. And you know what I mean. The team, And the splits show, like you can look and these teams hit a lot of home runs at home, and then away they don't hit so much. However, if these teams are in another small ballpark, they're probably going to do the same thing. Not always, but there's a good chance. So check into ballpark factors and just keep that in mind. Whenever you're doing your splits, like I said, I kind of tend to focus a little more on left and right, but I always try to factor in home and away. And if they're hit good at home, then yeah, I mean, home matters. If they're home and they hit good there, then I factor that in for sure. But like I said, sometimes they're away and hitting at a small ballpark. To me, same thing. So you just use your best judgment. That's really all I can say. Anyways, so we had Jose Barrios. That's kind of where I left off. And believe it or not, and this is just ridiculous, I remember as soon as the slate started, I spoke on Rafael Montero, how he had a decent K9, not a great ERA, and he was facing, hell, I don't even know who he's facing. I don't know why I don't remember this, but he's facing Cincinnati, and Cincinnati was one of my favorite stacks, and they didn't do crap. They sucked it up, but nothing's guaranteed. I know that. And he pitched a gem. I mean, like I said, not a great pitcher, had a great day. It happens. They're professionals. And I did mention, though, that Homer Bailey, he could easily be blown up. You know what I mean? I was afraid to attack him because he's been pitching well these past 2 or 3 games. I tried to attack him, and it didn't work. And so tonight, and I'm not saying, I don't even know what the final score was, but I know right off the bat, New York went up like 2 runs, and I was just like, oh, here we go. I knew that it was a possibility that he could, but I looked at making a stack. Like, I remember I was almost out of lineups, and I was like, well, let me get me a New York Mets stack in here. And I got to making it, and I just looked at it, and I'm like, man, this offense looks like crud. So I actually just got rid of it, and I think I ended up making thankfully, I made the LA Angels, and that was actually the stack that ended up getting me 159. And so, I mean, it worked out, but it just goes to say, it just goes to show, like I said, they're professionals. You know what I mean? Sometimes the stats are just there, and you look beyond it, because what I do is I correlate so many different stats that I'll look at it, and it was just like I was saying earlier today, that the Dodgers pitcher, he was my guy, and he just got toasted tonight. But the reason he was my guy is because he correlated in everything, whether it was recent production, matchup, just his K9 versus a high strikeout team, whatever it is. He correlated in all these things, and I just thought, this is my dude. But I was also very aware, and I spoke on how, well, Arizona's a good offense, and so he's a risk. So you win some, you lose some. But anyways, luckily, if you alternate those guys, you have variations of pitchers, you keep your options open. Luckily for me, like I said, it's not like every lineup I had. I had this dude in, and that's really what saved my night. But anyways, so we had R.A. Dickey. I believe he was. I don't think old boy was. He wasn't on the main slate. He was, on the earlier in the day slate, or I think he had like a doubleheader or something like that. But anyways, yeah, R.A. Dickey, he came in with 33.2 points, pretty solid. Facing Philadelphia, though, that's kind of to be expected. I was doing some of my work for tomorrow's slate, and I'm pretty sure I got a pitcher going against Philadelphia. I don't know, my work's not done yet. Oh, we'll get to that later. But anyways, Robbie Ray came in after that at 32.8 points. That was one other guy I spoke on. There you go, Robbie Ray. Justin Verlander, not on the main slate. Andrew Cashner, that's a surprise to me. He came in really hot at 30 points. and had himself a great night. Only 6 strikeouts, but one ERA, only 3 hits allowed. Came out with a win. He done well for himself. Not a guy I suspected to do well. Then we had Julio the Heron, and he done well. Again, I believe he was on the early slate. And then Rick Porcello, 26.2. Jose Quintana, 25.9. Really beyond that, J.A. Happ was a guy I know I mentioned. I thought he would do decent, and he didn't do so well. I figured Boston would put up a few runs. I think they put up like 7 or 8, more than a few, and he came out of there with like 10 points. Not so well. Dallas Keuchel, again, I knew people like, I don't know, I didn't know his percentage or his ownership. I didn't use him, not in a single lineup. He's not a guy I like. I remember earlier in the season, I used him a little bit here and there, and he's never done well for me. And now I've started to realize, after correlating all these stats, that what I mean. He'd have to be in a very, very juicy matchup in order for me to look at the guy and go, yeah, no, no thanks. So anyways, Homer Bailey got blown up. Travis Wood got blown up. Kendall Graveman got blown up. Spoke on that. Ivan Nova was another guy I spoke on. Thought he would do decent. Again, also said though that he was going against the Cubs, and they have been the #1 offense in the past 2 weeks. Very explosive team, and they proved just that. I think they put up 17 runs, 20 hits. Just crushed him. Crushed him. And I used them a little bit, so that hurt my overall winnings for the night. But just move on. Derek Holland, crushed. Jason Vargas, crushed. All of them crushed. I mean, there wasn't another good performance beyond that. It was really, for me, and what correlated, I had Jose Barrios, Rick Porcello, Hyunjin Ryu, and Ivan Nova, Robbie Ray, and J.A. Happ. Those were my guys. And I also had Jose Quintana sitting right there. He wasn't a guy I had highlighted, and the only reason that was because as of recent, he has given up a 6 ERA, and he was just a guy I didn't really want to use. Pittsburgh, they're not a high strikeout team, and I didn't use him. He came out pretty decent. He's a guy that you could have used, and I'm sure there's people that were. But anyways, then we'll move on to the offenses and what worked there. But just before we do though, I just want to just say on the pitching, Jose Barrios, my #1 guy, or listed #1. He done very well. Rick Porcello, again, #2 guy. He done very well. Dodgers pitcher did not do well, and he was my favorite pitcher of the night, unfortunately. Ivan Nova did not do well, and Robbie Ray, he done very well. And there you have 3 pitchers within my 5 pitchers. You could have used them. You could take down a GPP with a good pitching. I mean, these guys didn't cost a lot. I was actually really surprised that Robbie Ray was only like 10.5. Why? I thought he was the most expensive pitcher on the slate, and he definitely wasn't. So I'm going to go on to our offenses. And I had Minnesota, the #1 team. They put up, let's see, Minnesota put up, this is all changed on me. $11 runs Minnesota put up. Very solid. The Cubs put up 17. Angels put up 10. I mentioned them too. And so what I have here, and I could show you, I got Minnesota 11 runs. The next team I had under them highlighted. They weren't a team I was heavy on just because they haven't been really well lately. But I did mention them, and that was the Giants. Not sure what they done, because I don't think I even had a stack. No, they didn't put up any runs at all. None. So I'm glad I didn't use them. Then I had Cincinnati Reds, second favorite stack of the day. No runs. That hurt me. And then I'm going to jump down to the New York Mets. I had them, but I didn't use them. Like I said earlier, they just looked too bad. The offense just wasn't there. You know what I mean? Until some of these guys, their name has some credibility, then it's really hard to look at them and say, you know, you feel good about your lineup when you don't even know who any of these guys are. So I didn't use the Mets, but I did use Los Angeles, Anaheim Angels, and I think they put up 10 runs. Yeah, they put up 10, and the Athletics put up 8. So I mean that would have been a brilliant game stack right there. I didn't do that. Unfortunately, I should have. But anyways, and then it was KC and San Diego. KC, they put up 3 runs. Luckily for me, like I had Whit Merrifield, so that helped me a lot. I think he was in that lineup that I had that got me 159, and he had like 23 or 26 points, something of the sort. And really, that's all you need. You have good pitching, and then 4 or 5 guys that put up 20 plus points. You have pretty good odds of taking down a GPP, and or at least finishing in the top like 10 or so. So San Diego, they put up 5 runs on the Giants, and I had some exposure to them, not a ton, but I made a few. But my problem was it was my pitching. I was so set on the Dodgers pitcher. I was so set on him doing well that my variations of pitchers throughout all these stacks, they weren't great enough. Like I would probably have to run 2 contests in order to get all the variations of these stacks in my lineups. I mean, that's why I'm here. That's why I'm trying to get this information to you people. That way you can go out, you take all the information that I gather, and you use it to your benefit. You go out, study a little bit. I mean, I'm not bullcrapping any of you. I mean, although, like I said, I put many hours into this work, I just want you guys to be able to use it. And, like I said earlier, you can do just a little bit of research, check out maybe some of my favorite stacks, or just, like, it doesn't even have to be my favorite stack. It could just be something that's correlating within my notes that I'm telling you about, that you go in and you do your research on how these teams hit against the left or right-handed pitching that they'll be facing that same day. And also understand that the bullpen, me personally, I'm only so deep into baseball. I'm really more of a football fan, so I'm dying for the NFL to start up. Huge Vikings fan, was a Vikings fan. Actually, I'm a huge Adrian Peterson fan, so I'm not very happy with the Vikings. It'll be Who Dat Nation this year, but anywho, the bullpen is something I'm not super familiar with. I don't know all the relievers and just all the guys that come in. I don't know all these guys. I do try to do a little bit of research on them. I'm slowly learning, but it takes time. I mean, there's a lot of players. Remember, I didn't know hardly any of these players. At the beginning of the season, I knew few Cardinals, Royals players, like Pujols, obviously played for the Cardinals for a long time, and was a great player in his prime. Still a good player, but I don't know if I'd go as far as say he's still great, but he's still a good player. I don't know what all this talk. He's one of the worst players in the MLB. I don't know about that. You know, you got Aaron Judge striking out at a record-setting pace. You know what I mean? So, dude's still on pace for like 100 RBIs, and I think he's hit over 20 home runs already this year, and he's more or less just a hitter at this point in his career. You know what I mean? So, anyways, I think we pretty well have gone through everything that worked, what didn't work, and you know, you just try to learn from that. I mean, and really, I don't know what there is to learn from it. To me, it's understanding you have to have variations. That's really all there is to it. Nothing's guaranteed. None of these players are always going to perform, you know, to their max potential. They can be the best. They can be the worst. They could, you know, good days, bad days. They're human, like you and I. So that's really the key. You take this information. The more people we have using the information, the better chance we have of taking down GPPs. So it's up to you guys to put this information to use. With that, I will be back in the morning. I'm going to put together my work tonight, and hopefully we can have a better evening tomorrow. So, peace out, Correlation Nation. Y'all have a good night.